Welcome back to Don's Life. Welcome to the channel. Thanks for joining today. As you probably saw by the thumbnail, I installed a light bar on the newer body style GMC Sierra, and it wasn't an easy feat, and it took a long time before I decided on what to do. So I'm going to walk you through how I installed it and why I picked the light bar that I did. Let's go. All right, let's take a closer look at the project and let's go through just some of the things I was thinking of before I finally arrived on a decision on what to do. So if you look at this vehicle, if you've been following the channel, you've probably seen a bunch of the mods that I've done, but this is a grille overlay that's not supposed to be here, but I wanted it for the look. When you put on this grille overlay, you end up closing the gap in between some spots where maybe you could put a slim light bar. So I had seen light bars where people had mounted them here. Some people had mounted them behind the grill. They get blocked maybe just a little bit, but once it's on, you can't really tell. But the problem is with a lot of these trucks is they have slats that open and close to restrict or increase airflow to the radiator for when you need to keep it cool or keep it warm, depending on whatever climate you're in. So just because those need room to move, that really reduces the amount of space in behind you have to work with. And I also have this overlay on here, so it closes these gaps, and it's just not gonna be the look that I wanted anyway. I've seen people put them here, you know, stuff like that, and I'm like, you know, it's okay, but just still not quite what I wanted. So I was originally inspired by the Harley Davidson GMC Sierras with this body style, where between the tow hooks, they had a nice 22 inch light bar. It looked factory. I did look into getting the parts to do that myself, just order those parts and fit it all up. You can't get them, it's virtually impossible. Maybe some of you have. I dug pretty deep, I couldn't do it. I think between the tow hooks is where I wanted to put a light bar, and that brought me to this. So I've removed this valence already, and my original plan months ago was to cut this out and then do some fiberglass work on the sides, clean it up, repaint it, and make space for a light bar. But then, as I had a closer look at the diesel versions of this truck when they came out, well, this is deleted. They're completely open right here. So I'm like, perfect. There's a slot for a light bar. With the diesels, you may not want to put a light bar there because they actually have that ventilation because of the diesel engine, requires different cooling. But the gas engines, they have this valence and there's no breathing holes in it. So if I wanted to put a light bar in a spot like this, it's not blocking anything that wouldn't have been blocked already. So that's what I decided to do. And I actually had a friend on Instagram that showed me what he had done with a light bar down in that area. I've done mine just a little different. So I'm gonna walk you through that process today. So let's take a closer look at what we have to work with behind this valence. Actually, before I do that, let's look at what it requires to take this valence off. So there are 8 screws, 7mm hex that you need to remove. This top corner one and this top corner one, they are a royal pain, and I don't wish them upon my worst enemy. I don't have any enemies, but terrible, just terrible experience. We got these 4 tabs here, those aren't too bad. And then these 8 tabs on the bottom, they're not too bad. Just a little bit of prying with a screwdriver, carefully and slowly, you can work those out. But this was a pain to take off, but now it's off. There are other ways to take it off all in one piece with the rest of the bottom guard that goes along under the steel part of the bumper, but this is all I wanted to take off. And I was able to do it, so maybe you can too, but it was a pain. So anyway, let's look at what's behind it and what we had to work with and what I ended up doing. Okay, we have the valence taken off. You have these support beams here. Now I've seen people put the light bar right in behind, and that looks okay. Not a bad plan. And that way you're not cutting into anything, but I'm opting to cut these out. They offer some structural support, but once you have the valence back on here with all the screws that you saw me take off, all these clips, I think it's gonna be rigid enough that you can delete these. So I'm gonna cut those out. That's my personal choice because I want my light bar to come out kind of flush with the shape and curvature of the valence here, so it gives kind of that look like it's supposed to be there. And again, this was inspired by the Harley Davidson model that I saw. They had a light bar in here initially, and then one of my friends reached out on Instagram. He installed his light bar right in behind here. All right, so let's cut these out. and then we'll do some mock-ups and try and get the fitment of the bar in there and figure out what the bracket's got to look like. All right, again, this video is not really about a light bar review. I mean, I picked one, I'm going to install it. You'll see what it is in a minute. But you have about 20 to 22 inches to work with. I chose this light bar right here, and let me explain why. So we got the Rough Country 20-inch black, cool, white DRL. I wanted one that had a daytime running light feature because I wanted it to show that it was there. But obviously I can't have it on all the time. Otherwise I would blind people and that would be inconsiderate of me. So this one here, right along the center, we have these LEDs that light up about the same amount of light that the daytime running lights around the headlights would light up. A little brighter than what the logo that I have on the front would light up. So when you think just throughout the day, throughout the night, when you're just driving around and you're not using high beams and you're not using the full force of a light bar, you still get you know, a bit of light coming out. And I think it adds to that custom look, and I think it looks pretty good. So I wanted to find one that had a daytime running light. And there were 3 that I found. This was the least expensive, but it also had the dimensions and the measurements that I was confident I could make fit on the truck. So I pulled the trigger on this one. The other 2 that I were looking at are, you know, quite expensive. The most expensive one is made by Rigid. It's like almost $2,000. I wasn't going to spend that and find out it wouldn't fit. I'd like to have it though, so maybe I'll explore that way down the road. And then the other one is about $500 Canadian, and it's made by Siberia. It's called Strand. I'll put pictures here so you can see what I'm talking about. But it has a DRL that I feel looks nicer than this one. It also puts out almost twice the light as this guy here. But I think this was a good starting point. It wasn't that expensive, and it would help me figure out if going a little larger to a 22-inch would be possible. And I felt this was just a safe bet. I was confident it would fit just based on some early measurements. All right, let's take a closer look at the light bar, what it does before we get it all set up, just so you can see what I'm talking about. So we got our switch here, it's just temporarily wired up. There is our daytime running light. As you can see, it's not too crazy. And then we have the other way, which is the DRL and all of the light. So there you go. That's what we're putting in there. I want it like this when I'm driving with the daytime running lights and just my regular headlights. And then I want it like that when I'm, you know, on a rural road or somewhere I'm not going to blind people, but I want to have better visibility. So I'm not going to spend time in this video showing you exactly how I wired it up. That's to come. I'm going to do the mounting. That's what today's video is going to focus on. So we'll talk a little bit about what that mounting looks like and how I decided to do it. Okay, so whatever light bar you pick, you've got to consider how it's going to mount, and that probably took me some of the most time. So part of me thought I might mount it like this, and with this specific light bar, there's a way to add these hangers, and they're adjustable anywhere on the light bar. And actually, there's a spot underneath there where this might work perfectly, but you would need a little longer bolt, and you'd be able to tie it in. The reason I didn't do that is I thought it might vibrate when it's on the piece of flat steel that's there, because it's just where the bumper curves under. That's where it ends up mounting. Instead, I chose the side brackets that came with it. Right now they're attached to an L bracket that I had actually cut. So what I did is I took these L brackets, I think they were $6 each or something like that. And I used the side bracket, clipped it in here, had to cut this off. And then I was able to mount this to the frame, or a part near the frame, and it is very sturdy. So we're gonna go under there and I'm gonna show you how these are all fitted up. It's very tough to walk you through it, but you'll be able to see visually how these all sit up. So I thought if I showed you, out here on the table, what it looks like, that's what it looks like. And then that way, when you're looking underneath the vehicle in those tight, cramped quarters, because that's all the space that I have, you'd be able to kind of make sense of what you're seeing. So let's go. Here's what it looks like from the back. I did have to trim about 1/4 inch on each side of the opening. You can make fun of these brackets if you want, but now I know the exact size. I could go get some welded up and made perfect, but this should do. It's solid. It's not going anywhere. It's tight. I think it looks pretty good. I'm happy. All right, now you know how it's mounted. You might get inspired and do something similar yourself. I should have mentioned it does come with this cover to protect the light, also to put it over top when you're maybe not using it. It is a little bit flimsy. I could definitely see it cracking down the road from the cold. I could always wrap it in vinyl. That might add a little bit of strength when it flexes. Who knows? But anyway, it comes with the cover. Now you might be wondering about the wiring. That's not going to be in today's video. So right now it's temporarily hooked up. It's connected to the battery. It's got these relays on here, so it's getting all of the power here. And then we could just decide to tie it in to the daytime running lights, maybe the fog lights, maybe the high beams. We could mount this switch inside the cab. We could also install the GM OEM upfitter switches, which I've given a lot of consideration to. I haven't fully decided. So for now, I'm just going to leave the switch in here. I want you to see what the light bar looks like on the truck, so we'll do that now. And in a future video, we'll decide which way I'm going to wire it, and I'll share exactly what I had done in a future video. But anyway, we'll be using the switch just like this. I'll have to manually turn it on, but let's get to that montage.
I got the cash in the bag, stadium packed. Born a rock star in this life, gonna live it up on the attack. Baby, I'm bad. I just wanna get caught up in this life. I'm crazy, I'm mad. Doing no cap. Only God wants, so you better go live it up. Cash in the bag, stadium packed. Baby, I'm bad. Yeah. Baby, I'm bad.
I just wanna stay bad, stay mad. Chip on my shoulder, cause they treat me like an outcast. I ain't gonna take that, stay back. I'll be swinging hard till the hits come in all caps. I ain't gonna lay back, pray that someone's gonna help me. Ain't nobody like that. I ain't gonna wait, that's all fact. Give me one shot and I'll never get the throne back. I'm sick of being cautious. I'ma go cause something, can't stop this. I'ma steal everybody's lane, call it shoplift. Sick of hearing everyone complain when they thoughtless. Taste the pain, it's like candy canes. It makes me go change into a better frame, into a better name. Society's insane, we all live for fame, yeah. Cash in the bag, stadium packed. Born a rock star in this life, gonna live it up on the attack. Baby, I'm bad. I just wanna get caught up in this life. I'm crazy, I'm mad. Do it no cap. Only God wants, so you better go live it up. Cash in the bag, stadium packed. Baby, I'm bad. Baby, I'm bad. I got the cash in the bag, stadium packed. Born a rock star in this life, gonna live it up.
All right, so that's the light bar on my GMC Sierra AT4. If you have a GMC Sierra, this body style, now you know where you can put a light bar, and it's really not that difficult. And I hope maybe what I went through helps you a little bit. Also on my left is my BMW M4. It is pretty much ready to throw a new wrap on it. That should be here next week, and I'm gonna start on that, so definitely stay tuned. But if you like today's video, hit that like button. Please consider subscribing. We'll talk to you next time. So my drone landed in a tree. We gotta save it. That's good. We got it. There you go, little guy.